The HOA built an entire house on MY property without permission. When I legally tore it down, they sued me for $500,000. What happened next will shock you. This is the craziest property dispute I've ever experienced, and it gets worse. Stay until the end because the judge's final ruling will blow your mind. Let's get into it. Smash that subscribe button right now if you love neighbor war justice stories. What's up, Neighbor Wars HQ family? If you're new here, welcome to the channel where we expose the most insane property disputes, HOA nightmares, and neighbor battles that'll make your blood boil. I'm your host, and today's story is absolutely wild. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to Neighbor Wars HQ, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another jaw-dropping story. Trust me, you want to follow this case from start to finish. So picture this. You're a hardworking homeowner who finally saved enough money to buy your dream piece of land. You've got plans, you've got permits, you're ready to build your future. But then one day, you drive up to your property and see an entire house being built on it. Not by you, not with your permission, but by your HOA. Sound impossible, right? Well, buckle up because this story proves that HOAs can be more corrupt and delusional than you ever imagined. Our story begins with Marcus Thompson, a 38-year-old engineer from Colorado who had been saving for over a decade to purchase a beautiful 2-acre lot in what seemed like an idyllic planned community. The neighborhood was called Pinewood Estates, and it came with, you guessed it, a mandatory homeowners association. Now, Marcus knew HOAs could be strict. He'd heard the horror stories about paint colors, mailbox heights, and lawn maintenance complaints. But he figured he could handle it. The land was perfect, the location was incredible, and he was ready to build his custom home. Marcus closed on the property in March 2022. He paid $185,000 cash for the lot, did all his due diligence, got a proper survey, and started working with an architect to design his dream home. Everything was going according to plan. But here's where things get crazy. Marcus lived about 45 minutes away from the property while he was planning his build. He would visit maybe once every 2 weeks to check on things, walk the land, and dream about his future home. In June 2022, he submitted his building plans to the HOA Architectural Review Committee, as required by the covenants. The HOA took their sweet time reviewing his plans. Weeks went by, then months. Marcus kept emailing, calling, leaving messages. Finally, in September, he got a response. Your plans are under review. Please be patient. Patient. He'd been patient for 6 months. In October 2022, Marcus decided to drive out to his property on a random Tuesday afternoon. He wanted to walk the land again and maybe start marking where his foundation would go. But as he pulled up to his lot, his jaw literally dropped. There were construction workers everywhere. Heavy equipment, lumber stacks, a concrete foundation, and walls going up on his property. Marcus slammed on his brakes, jumped out of his car, and ran over to the construction site. Stop! Stop! What are you doing? This is MY property. The construction foreman looked at him, confused. Sir, you need to step back. This is a private construction site. Private? I own this land. Who authorized this? The foreman pulled out some paperwork. We're contracted by Pinewood Estates, HOA. This is Lot 47, Community Clubhouse Expansion Project. Marcus felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Lot 47? No. I own Lot 47. I have the deed right here in my truck. What followed was 2 hours of confusion, angry phone calls, and Marcus literally showing his property deed to construction. Workers who had no idea what was happening. Eventually, the foreman agreed to halt work until they could sort this out. Marcus immediately called the HOA president, a woman named Patricia Hendricks. The conversation went exactly as badly as you'd expect. Patricia, there's a house being built on my property, my land, without my permission. Patricia, in the most condescending tone imaginable, replied, Mr. Thompson, I think you're confused. That's not your lot. That's HOA common area property designated for community amenities. I have the deed. I paid $185,000 for this land. Well, there must be some mistake in your paperwork. The HOA board voted unanimously to build a community recreation center on that parcel. The decision is final. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. You can't just take someone's property. Mr. Thompson, I suggest you review your HOA covenants. The board has wide-ranging authority over community development. If you have concerns, you can submit them in writing at our next quarterly meeting. Good day. She hung up. Marcus was furious. But more than that, he was terrified. Someone was literally stealing his land and building on it. He immediately contacted a real estate attorney named David Chun, who had great reviews and experience with HOA disputes. David looked at Marcus's deed, the survey, the property records, everything. His conclusion? Marcus, this is black and white. You own this land. The HOA has absolutely no legal right to build on it. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of property rights violation I've ever seen. They immediately sent a cease and desist letter to the HOA, demanding they stop construction immediately and remove all materials from Marcus's property. The letter was sent certified mail with legal language that made it crystal clear. Stop now, or face serious consequences. The HOA's response? They ignored it completely. Not only did they ignore it, but construction continued. Day after day, Marcus would drive by and see more progress. Foundation completed. Framing going up. Roof trusses. They were building a full 3,000 square foot structure on his land. David filed an emergency injunction in county court, asking a judge to immediately halt the construction. The hearing was set for 3 weeks out. But here's where the HOA made their most insane move yet. 2 days before the injunction hearing, Marcus received a letter from the HOA's legal team. They were suing him. The HOA claimed that Marcus had purchased the property under false pretenses, that his deed was invalid due to errors in the original subdivision plat, and that he was interfering with legitimate HOA community improvement projects. They were suing him for $50,000 in damages for construction delays. David couldn't believe it. This is a slap suit. They're trying to intimidate you into backing down. But we're not backing down. The injunction hearing was like something out of a legal drama. Marcus, David, and all their documentation on one side. The HOA, represented by a big law firm with 3 attorneys, on the other side. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Margaret Rollins, reviewed the case files before the hearing even started. You could tell she was already annoyed. The hearing began with David presenting Marcus's case. Deed presented. Survey presented. Property tax records showing Marcus as the legal owner presented. Title insurance documents presented. It was overwhelming evidence. Then the HOA attorneys got up to present their case. And folks, what they said was bonkers. Their lead attorney argued that while Mr. Thompson may have a deed to the property, the HOA covenants supersede individual property rights when it comes to community improvement projects. He actually said that, out loud, in a court of law. Judge Rollins looked at him like he'd grown a second head. Counselor, are you seriously arguing that an HOA covenant can override someone's deed and property ownership? Your Honor, the covenants were established before Mr. Thompson purchased the property. He agreed to them by purchasing in the community. That doesn't give you the right to build on his land. The HOA attorney tried to pivot. Your Honor, there's a dispute about the boundary lines. Our survey shows that the construction is actually on HOA common area. David immediately stood up. Your Honor, may I present the certified survey conducted by a licensed surveyor, which clearly shows the construction is 100% on my client's property. Furthermore, the HOA never conducted their own survey before starting construction. Judge Rollins was not happy. The HOA built a structure without even confirming they own the land? Is that what I'm hearing? The HOA attorneys stumbled over their words, trying to justify the unjustifiable. Judge Rollins had heard enough. Here's my ruling. Construction is immediately halted. The HOA is ordered to cease all work on the disputed property pending a full trial on the merits. Additionally, I'm sanctioning the HOA for bringing that frivolous lawsuit against Mr. Thompson. Countersuits are dismissed with prejudice. We'll reconvene in 60 days for a full hearing. Marcus walked out of that courtroom feeling vindicated. But the war was far from over. You'd think the HOA would back down after a judge told them they were wrong. But nope, these people doubled down. Within a week of the injunction, Marcus started receiving violation notices. His grass was too long, it wasn't. His mailbox was the wrong color. It was the same color it had always been. His vehicle was parked improperly. It was in his driveway. Then came the fines. $50 per day for each violation. Marcus was racking up thousands of dollars in bogus fines. David filed another motion with the court, documenting the harassment. Judge Rollins was livid and issued another order telling the HOA to knock it off. But the worst part? The HOA sent letters to every single homeowner in Pinewood Estates, painting Marcus as the villain. They claimed he was preventing community improvements and costing the HOA thousands in legal fees. Marcus's neighbors started giving him dirty looks. Some stopped talking to him altogether. One neighbor even left a nasty note on his car. "Thanks for ruining our community, jerk." The social pressure was intense. Marcus felt isolated, attacked from all sides. But he refused to give up his legal rights to his own property. Marcus made a decision. If the HOA wasn't going to remove the structure, he would. He consulted with David, who confirmed that legally, Marcus had every right to remove an illegal structure from his property. David drafted a careful legal notice to the HOA, giving them 30 days to remove the structure themselves, or Marcus would hire a demolition company to do it for them. The 30 days passed. The HOA did nothing. So Marcus hired Rocky Mountain Demolition Company. He got all the proper permits from the county. He documented everything with photos and videos. And on a cold November morning, the demolition crew showed up. The half-built structure came down in less than 6 hours. Foundation removed. Debris hauled away. Marcus's property restored to its original condition. He thought it was over. He was wrong. 3 days after the demolition, Marcus was served with a new lawsuit. This time, the HOA was suing him for $500,000. $500,000. They claimed that Marcus had destroyed HOA property, trespassed on common area land, violated HOA covenants, and caused emotional distress to board members. It was absurd. It was frivolous. But it was also terrifying because even defending against a baseless lawsuit costs money. David was ready to fight. They countersued the HOA for trespassing, property damage, harassment, emotional distress, and attorney's fees. They asked for $750,000 in damages. The case went to trial in March 2023. It lasted 3 days. Both sides presented witnesses, evidence, expert testimony. Marcus testified about the nightmare he'd endured. The HOA president, Patricia, testified that they acted in good faith for the community's benefit. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. When the jury came back, you could feel the tension in the courtroom. The verdict was read. We find in favor of the defendant, Marcus Thompson, on all counts. Furthermore, we find in favor of Mr. Thompson on his counterclaims. The HOA's lawsuit was dismissed completely, but got better. The jury awarded Marcus $425,000 in damages. This included compensation for his legal fees, property damage, emotional distress, and punitive damages against the HOA for their willful and malicious conduct. Patricia Hendricks turned pale. The HOA attorneys looked like they'd been hit by a truck. But the judge wasn't done. Judge Rollins added her own judicial findings. This court has rarely seen such a blatant violation of property rights, she said. The HOA in this case acted with stunning disregard for basic legal principles. They built a structure on land they did not own, refused to correct their mistake when confronted with evidence, and then weaponized the legal system to intimidate the rightful property owner. She ordered the HOA to pay an additional $150,000 in sanctions and court costs. She also ordered a forensic audit of the HOA's finances and placed the board under supervision of a court-appointed receiver for 2 years. So what happened after the verdict? Patricia Hendricks and 2 other board members resigned in disgrace. The forensic audit revealed that they'd been mismanaging HOA funds for years, and the illegal construction project was just the tip of the iceberg. The remaining homeowners in Pinewood Estates held an emergency meeting and voted to dissolve the HOA entirely. They converted to a voluntary neighborhood association with no enforcement powers. Marcus finally got to build his dream home. Construction started in June 2023, and he moved in last spring. He says the house is everything he dreamed of, and it's even sweeter knowing he fought for his rights and won. As for the money, the HOA's insurance covered most of the judgment, but it bankrupted their reserve fund. Special assessments had to be levied against all homeowners to cover the shortfall. Many of those same neighbors who had shunned Marcus during the dispute came to apologize once they understood what their board had done. Some friendships were repaired. Others weren't. But Marcus has zero regrets. "I stood up for what was right," he told me in a recent interview. "If I'd backed down, I'd have lost my land and my dignity. Instead, I fought, and justice prevailed." So what can we learn from Marcus's nightmare? Document everything. Marcus had photos, surveys, deeds, emails, texts, everything. That documentation saved him in court. Know your rights. HOAs have power, but they don't have unlimited power. They cannot violate your fundamental property rights, no matter what their covenants say. Get a good lawyer early. David's expertise and aggressive representation made all the difference. Don't let bullies intimidate you. The HOA tried every tactic in the book to make Marcus give up. He didn't, and he won. Sometimes you have to fight. Marcus could have walked away, sold the land at a loss, and moved on. Instead, he stood his ground and got justice. This case is a stark reminder that HOAs can abuse their power in shocking ways. But it's also a reminder that the legal system, when it works correctly, protects property owners from exactly this kind of overreach. If you're dealing with an HOA nightmare, don't give up. Know your rights. Document everything, and fight if you have to. And if you enjoyed this story, you need to check out our video on the HOA that tried to foreclose on a house over a $75 late fee. Link is in the description. That story is just as crazy as this one. Before you go, smash that like button if you're Team Marcus, subscribe to Neighbor Wars HQ for more incredible property dispute stories, and drop a comment telling me, what would you have done in Marcus's situation? Thanks for watching, Neighbor Wars HQ family. Until next time, stand your ground, know your rights, and never let anyone steal your property.